it's good to be surprised. So it's been a couple weeks since I reminded you that I'm Rev Ann Rea, and I am so blessed to serve with the everyday community and to be its senior minister. Yes. And I appreciate your appreciation, and I appreciate you right back. Because it doesn't happen without all of us. It doesn't happen without all of us. This community cannot be all that it is without every single one of us who is in the room, who is online. Good morning, Zoom. Good morning, Facebook. I hope I didn't sing too loud for you all, because I was having a good time over there. So, thank you, Bren, for your beautiful references to ancestral spirituality, which is the talk title for today. What is ancestral spirituality? Well, you know, last week we went way back, right? We talked about the first evidence of spiritual ritual and of there being some kind of an honoring of the gifts of life as early man knew it. The first symbology was drawn on caves, the inside of caves. And as time progressed, what I've learned is that once they were done with the inside, they started on the outside of caves. They started decorating the outside, and they started making things. And what's interesting about the early creations that they made, the early pottery that was made, the early artwork that was made, was that it often had the shape of something that was being honored. So even if the pot was supposed to be a pot, it wasn't necessarily shaped like something from Cuisinart. It was round, and it was full, and it had these little ears for handles sometimes, or it might have been shaped like a woman's body, or there were lots of different ways of designing what they made in those early days, what they created in those early days. And Denise and I have been stumbled on, actually, a fascinating program called Native Americans. And it isn't just about our Native Americans. It isn't just about the tribes that originated here. It's about all of the Americas. All of the Americas. So going as far south as the Americas go, and going as far north as the Americas go. And probably even beyond those boundaries at the time. And the reason that I'm sharing this with you as part of our conversation this morning is because I think it's of great value to know our roots. it's of great value to know not only our roots as people, but where and when and how the sacred became defined and observed. And while watching this program, one of the things that we learned is that was like to my mind was that during the Ice Age, the people that existed at that time, the people who were inclined to wander around and discover things and be curious, which was a lot of people, they ended up in South America. They started in Chaco Canyon. Not everybody started in Chaco Canyon. It wasn't like, which by the way is a place here in New Mexico, in case you don't know. Not everybody started in Chaco Canyon because some people started in Alaska and some people, what would become Alaska, and some people started in the northern Midwest. They started all over. But these wanderers, these who were curious and wanted to see, well, if this is what my environment is like, what else might I find? The other very interesting thing is they always took stuff with them. So not only did they take things they needed, like maybe a pot or a cup, and they made cups then. Isn't that interesting? They made cups then. They made vessels that looked like glasses then out of the earth. They figured out how to combine elements to make things that would last if you put other things in them. So it's the Ice Age, and people are wandering around, seeing what's up in other places. And they ended up visiting with and hanging out with the Mayans. Even though our thoughts about the Mayans is that the Mayans were exclusively the Mayans. Well, they were exclusively the Mayans except for their visiting friends. And the Incans. Any tribe, any group of peoples that you might want to name found ways of intermingling in what I would call their lane. Because they didn't tend to go side to side. They tended to go up and down. North to south, north to south, south to north. And the evidence that this happened is the stuff they brought with them. Because they would trade things. They would trade for something that looked more interesting or seemed more practical or whatever the case may be. And so in archaeological digs have been found things that are classically New Mexican, that are classically Incan, that are classically Aztec. Okay, so what's this got to do with spirituality? Because so much of what was created a spiritual basis from their perspective. What we've learned and what I've learned in my research is that the perspective, from what we can tell from archaeological digs, is that everything was sacred. Everything was uniquely sacred. Now, I don't know that the last time that you looked at a kitchen fork when you were getting ready to set the table, that you stood there and thought about the fork being sacred. But would you? Would you stop and look at that fork and think about what it represents? The bounty that it represents, the nourishment that it represents, the nature that has delivered this bounty for your nourishment. Would you necessarily look at that fork in that way? It's interesting how desensitized we've become. In many ways. One of my least favorite things in the world, don't worry, I don't think I'm going to offend anybody, is to see a family sitting in a restaurant and everybody is on a device. Everybody has a phone, everybody has a video something, everybody is on a device. I was visiting out of town at a conference, and there were 3 sisters sitting next to me. 3 sisters, I later learned, and all of their kids. Probably 8 or 9 kids altogether, all different ages. And every single one of them was on a device. And one of the sisters was so excited to tell me that they do this once a week. And I thought, wow. How great for you. I mean, I was thinking, okay, so the kids are going to be on devices, but the sisters are going to be talking, right? They get together to catch up and no. And some of the kids were texting each other. Now, I am as attached to my technology as the next person, but I'm not that attached. I know what is sacred, and that's time. That's time with people. And my phone can, it can handle it. It can use the time off. I wonder what archaeological digs will reveal of this time. What will they find in archaeological digs from this time that shows what to us mattered? What to us mattered? difference did anything make? Did something make a difference? Will there be things in those archaeological digs that reveal caring, kindness, generosity, benevolence, curiosity, wonder? Because, in my opinion, if all that's found is technology, I think about the poor ground it's in. That reveals nothing.
Right.
Especially since nobody can get into it. It reveals nothing about the population that used it. The gift of ancestral spirituality and of taking a look at it in this way is to see what we can learn now to do differently, to value differently, to honor differently. You know, sometimes, okay then. Sometimes it's not about learning something new. It's not about what Rev Ann is going to say today that's going to rock my world. Sometimes it's about looking at where we've come from and what do we treasure about being here now that we would want to share with generations to come. Because if we aren't paying attention to our lives in that way, if we aren't paying attention to our lives in a way that reveals what matters to us, the values we hold, the respect we have for each other, the joy we take in each other's presence and a baby's laugh. If we aren't conscious of what evidence we want there to be of our presence and our participation and our consciousness, it's not like I'm going to sugar on anybody, because I don't do that. I'm just saying, it's worth thinking about. It's worth thinking about. What's the love we want to leave behind? What's the experience of being together that we want to leave behind? And I don't just mean leave behind when we go. I think there's a song that does that. But when we leave each other's company, what was the value of being together? Did we look in each other's eyes? Did we give each other an unforgettable hug? One of my main goals. You know, legacy is an interesting word. Legacy is about what's left behind. Right?
Right, yeah.
it's possible to get so caught up in what we want our legacy to be that we aren't living in the now.
Exactly.
It's possible to get so caught up in what we want our kids to have that we aren't enjoying life ourselves. Because our kids having the benefit of our work, of our prosperity consciousness, of whatever it is more important. Why? Why? You know, I don't think I would have been one of those Native Americans that would have walked on ice to visit the Incans, because I'm not a big ice person. But I certainly would have paid attention to what other people brought home. What I could learn from that. What was going on thousands of miles away. I mean, that's mind-blowing. That they walked all that distance just to see what was up. Curiosity, awe, the thrill of discovery. That's what I want my legacy to be. I want my legacy to be delight in the sumptuousness of Carol's blossoming crab tree. Delight. The opportunity to share and the opportunity to look for ways to share, not just financially. I mean, that has its place, but sharing our enthusiasm, sharing our curiosity, sharing what we believe to be important about being here now.
Right.
Because being here now is important.
Yes.
And what a shame it would be to miss it. Because we were so distracted by what might be happening or what is happening outside of our control.
Right.
It would be a shame to miss it. So, you know, I'm going to give you homework, right? And the homework for this week is to share. And to share with attention. Linger when you look in someone's eyes. Linger over that hug. Linger over the moments that you have with the people that you love. Linger in the opportunity to experience a moment fully. And take nothing for granted.
Yes.
But that's it. And so it is.
And so it is.
Woo!